All right. Welcome back, all you game changers and people up to something, or those that are just frustrated and don't know what the hell to do. You're at the right place. So, I'm your host, Chad Everett Broshears, or Sir Chad Everett Broshears for some. If you know, you know, and that has to do with a particular area of maturity that I touch on probably in this video a little bit, but don't go far in that. That's actually distraction from what I want to talk about mainly today. So, yeah, here's the thing. This is the maturity project, and what's it geared towards? What's the intentions of it? What are we doing with this particular project? And that's fairly simple. This thing is set up to help people get through challenges, to get through things in life. There are 8 different areas of maturity that we really do need to address if you want to have a fulfilled life. And I'll explain why other people, they do these things and they set things up and they've got such a modicum of success, because success has such a dynamic measurement. So I'll get this moved here a little bit. You have people like Tony Robbins that does do transformational work. There's Landmark Education or Landmark Worldwide, used to be EST, or at least it came from EST back in the 80s. We've got Jordan Peterson. We've got, you can run through quite a few people in this this lineup. Again, Andrew Tate for some people, and again, it's everybody has a flavor for somebody, and everybody has a desire to actually have specific people leading them or give them inspiration. So what I see regularly is a degree of lacking fulfillment in life, lacking a purpose, and then fulfillment into that purpose. And why are people not able to actually get started in it? Give me 1 second. I got to stop something before we get too much background heat noise here. Sweet. Apologize about the intermission there, and welcome back. All right. Didn't want that to be a nuisance noise in the background. I didn't realize this when I started the video. Okay. So look, the world is in its own state of chaos. Arguably, it's always in a state of chaos. It just seems to be really heightened right now. If we'd like to be able to make some changes and do something with that, we need to actually look at why. So yeah, we've got chaos going on. There's people that are losing their homes. There's people losing their jobs. There's families breaking up, divorces, relationships that don't seem to work out. And then now it turns out that there's new studies saying that 70% of women have, an ex-boyfriend or ex-husband or somebody in the wind, in the wings, just waiting for a challenge to the current relationship. And I imagine that goes vice versa. It goes right back to the same thing with men. We have such a downward spiral of this narcissism that's going on, where everybody acts like crabs in a fucking bucket, constantly trying to pull somebody else down for their own narcissistic, needs. And when I say narcissistic, by the way, does not mean you're a narcissist if you have trait values of narcissism. We all have them. It just means that you're feeding that wolf, and eventually you will become that if you do not break that pattern of thinking. 6 months or more of any continuous behavior becomes part of your character. So if you want to change your life for the better, understand where you're putting applications in or putting energy into something that is going to make you the worst. If you focus on something for 6 months or more and you continuously think about that thing, you have now established a pattern of thinking habit that can cause you to see the world in a different way. You can control this, or you can let it happen to you. You get caught up in a specific TV series, which, by the way, if you want to binge something, binge at the library. Binge on something that's transformational, that actually has things that make you think in a way that makes you more likely to achieve your goals. My channel is a great one to subscribe to. I'm not trying to make a plug for myself at the moment, but why not set this up, watch a video every morning. I've got a bunch of them. It's well over 300 videos at this point. Set something in place to interrupt these things, because if not, and you complain that the world is going to shit, how are you contributing to the downfall and the downward spiral of the world? We've gotten so comfortable because we've made so many advancements in technology in a society. We have the ability to not have to worry about where our next meal comes from because we have government assistance if you're below a specific income level. And we've got abundancy outside of that. You have food pantries, there's all kinds of things our community comes together to help each other with. We have all kinds of stuff that really does work, but we've gotten so comfortable because of it. We traded off survival for the comfort. And the problem with the comfort is that you get up to no good if you're not busy on something. And what I mean by get up to no good is, look, if you're not working on something in your relationship with your partner, you're probably working on ways of destroying your relationship with your partner and you don't know it. It could be just simply because of neglect. If you're not exploring your partner on a regular basis to understand who that person is and to genuinely and curiously try to continue to know that person at the depth that they could possibly be, and every time you get to where you think you're at the bottom, keep fucking going. Because people love it when other people are that interested in them. And why wouldn't you want your partner, your romantic partner, to be that way with you? Because I gotta tell you, man, if you don't in today's society and you're not trying to really create something healthy, especially in this subject of relationships, then your partner is probably planning something with somebody else. And it may not be now. It's just opening up and creating a void, a vacancy of your relationship that allows somebody else in. And right now, if you go on social media and you start venting your problems to the world, you're only open to enrolling other people about your problems in hopes that maybe they can save you, maybe give you some sort of cathartic release. It's a really bad idea to share your hardships with people that don't have any investment in you having anything in life, let alone, having the good times. I've caught myself so many times celebrating other people's relationships. There's a couple on Facebook that I follow regularly, and I think they're a beautiful couple, and recently just started talking about their relationship. And instead of being one of those people that is just jealous and upset that they're in it, no, I tell them. I appreciate they're putting it out there and that they're showing that they enjoy each other and inspiring other people to start working on healthy relationships. And if this doesn't sound like a point of conversation that's really worth talking about, one of the reasons why people keep putting themselves through so much hardship when it comes to relationships is they're looking for love. They want to have their definition of love to be satisfied. And every time they don't find it, they get frustrated. What happens when you get frustrated? Do you treat everybody the same as a nice person that you think that you are? Do you go around constantly giving people that same degree of appreciation? That same level of, I am at my happiest state? Do you continuously hold that when you're frustrated? How about when you're frustrated for the umpteenth time for the same thing? We've got, how many times you have to have this problem with your partner before you start getting really disenchanted with the relationship? Well, what does that do when it comes to everything else? When it comes to going and just being present to moments? If you take it this way and look at it from a different perspective, how many children complain that one of their parents wasn't present during their upbringing? And I don't mean physically, I mean just emotionally and present with their mind, not distracted by the problems and challenges they have in life. Versus the kids that don't complain about it. Now, I know in today's society, it's hard to even figure that any kid's not complaining about something about their parents because we've created some sort of victim Olympics out of the whole fucking thing. Some competition of who's got it worse. So we've got it. It's a downward spiral, man. And I'm not saying any of this stuff to get people depressed or to get them upset or to feel hopeless. If you feel hopeless, this is it for you, man. This is the right channel, because I promise you one thing you're going to get out of this is opportunity, insights, and hope. The bottom of Pandora's box. I'm talking about what happens when you first open Pandora's box. Right now, our society is in that phase of Pandora's box. If you're not familiar with it, when you would open up Pandora's box, you'd be the victim of this, because then the world is released. All of its chaos is released into the world. Everything is just released upon you. It is this entire undesirable experience released into your world. And you're like, I don't think I can handle this. You were led into that with the greatest degree of mystery and intrigue and desire. And then all of a sudden, this chaos pours out onto you. All of it, craziness. It's all chaos. See, the story goes, though, if you read it all the way to the end and you don't listen to somebody else tell you the story about Pandora's box, if you don't listen till the end, you don't realize what the whole point of it was. At the end of it all, when you let the box let all of the chaos out into the world, hope shows up. Hope is so incredibly powerful because it will get you to move. Hope and faith are pretty much the same thing. Now, faith has more conviction than hope. Hope is the doorway opening into faith. If you can transition from hope to faith, man, you've got some power. You just have to have that. Because you know what? Life's a roller coaster. It's going to continue to do this thing where you go up and you get a great time and you just are having the greatest time in the world, and then you come down. And then you're into those lulls, into the valley of it all. So you get into this pattern. Well, hope gets you to that high level. When you start coming down into that valley, faith will pull you back out. Because faith will help you hold to your goals when hope can't facilitate. It's where hope is exhausted and frustrated, or you just got hit by something. Faith is what will take you further. So hope is the doorway into faith's abilities and potency. They're cousins and they live together very well. So if you want something different, you've got to go through it. First, we have to recognize what needs to be addressed. Now, I'm not coming to you from some sort of guru position that I know everything, because I damn sure don't. I've made a lot of mistakes in my life, and I have learned some powerful lessons. And I would not take any of my mistakes away. No one will ever get me to do that. I am where I am because of who I have chosen to be. And that is also a combination of all the challenges I've ever had. Still going through challenges. And you'll never be free of those. I always plan to use those challenges to continue to polish the diamond of who I am. That valuable thing that we are. I'm going to continue to hold on to that. This is mine. People are like, oh, it's so hard on you. I'm like, good. Because here's the thing. Life ain't supposed to be easy. Somebody convinced somebody along the lines that's true, and then they spread that shit like wildfire. Every time somebody tells you life is real easy, they're lying. It's not easy. Now, life is simple when you start organizing it right and you understand the values of it. It's got complicated values when you don't have it organized. But as I was mentioning earlier, you've got a lot of gurus out there that teach all kinds of things. But why are their success rates amongst their participants so much lower? Some are incredible, astronomical, the outliers of it. They do so well that they're used for marketing. They're used for all kinds of things. And I've worked in a marketing company too, and I can tell you right now, also a lot of the stuff that you read and see is all bullshit. Or there's some modicum of truth, but the overall value of it is actually just bullshit. Now we're from a marketing company somewhat recently. I was in the room when they were recording something, and a person they were talking to on the phone that they had recorded was my client, and I had not sold her yet. And they made the video out that they sold her. They made the video out that these two gentlemen, they're really amazing marketers or whatever, that they sold her at the end of it. They went through this whole thing, and then they concluded by telling you they sold her. I worked there. She was the person that I was trying to sign. They didn't sell her. They hadn't sold her even up to the day that I'd left, which was over a month later. People are full of shit, man, but it's what they use for marketing. But at the same time, not everybody's full of shit either. There are people that are genuine, that are honest. The ones that are full of shit are just more crabs trying to pull other people down so they can possibly get ahead. They don't know how to create a community to be successful. Our current community has a lot of people trying to pull the other ones down. And when people are trying to find truth, they interfere with nonsense and lies because it's just a challenge to create more problems. And it's their solution is problems. But that's also the solutions of crabs when they're in a bucket. Their solution is more problems. Let me make life a little bit harder for you. Let me get you back down to my level of suffering. Now, there's reasons for that. Misery loves company, and chaos is company with misery. And chaos is a combination of multiple different things that are undesirable. Actually, interestingly enough, chaos and luck are the same coin, just different sides. But that's for another day. Simple version of that is one is the favorable and desirable, and the other one isn't. But they both come to you by a lineup of things that you don't realize that you call chance. But nearly all of it was something that you established, you built yourself into. Your ability to manage opportunity and to be able to successfully have that opportunity turn into something desirable is what we usually refer to as luck from the outside looking in, or if you can't track it, you don't know how it happened. And then the chaos side of it is the undesirables. I want to avoid that. That sucks. You don't call it luck usually either. You may call it bad luck, maybe. There's other names for it. Point of it is that you're not developed in ways that actually help you get where you want to be. And it's not uncommon. Who the hell was there to teach us? It's our parents and our authorities who are going through their own challenges. They also only knew what they knew. I was one of 6 boys. There's 4 of us in the house at one time. Father worked, mom was a stay-at-home. My oldest brother had cerebral palsy. He was bedridden. We had a nurse, 24-hour assistance, to help deal with the challenges of having a handicapped child. He was the oldest brother. There's a lot of things that I learned from that. It's a lot of things that I also learned when it comes to actually being validated. When there's that many more of you, of the family, there's other children that your parents need to deal with and need to work with. So who was there to teach me what the world meant whenever things got hard? When I ran into challenges, especially younger you are, the more challenges you run into, because you have little to deal with the world. You don't know what's going on, and you rely on your authorities, your caretakers, to guide you, to be there for you. And then there's times they can't. Now, the thing is that most people aren't taught that way of thinking that makes things different, that gives the independence. They're taught to just show people how to do things. And that's okay, it works. But you have to understand more of the why behind doing it. There's a lot of things you have to understand in order to really learn the lesson. And for so many of us, we just don't know. So what do we do when something happens? Well, we try to articulate as best we can if we can bring it up in a timeline that we don't settle it in our own mind. You got a challenge you just faced and you told yourself something. Say that, you physically weren't able to do something. You were trying to climb a tree with your friends. And you weren't able to reach the branch they were able to reach. And then you tell yourself at that age, well, I'll get to it whenever I'm big enough. What happens if they decide to stop going on that tree? Well, that's an incomplete experience. It's not horrible. It's not detrimental necessarily, but it might build into something else, because then you get a little bit older and it turns out there's something else that your friends are able to do, but you're not able to. And you tell yourself again, whenever I get to be that age, when I get to be that big, when I get to be that capable, I'll be able to do it. And then that happens again. And you just build this series of things. Now, I'm using a really generic example, but things that happened in your life that told you something. You made up something. I'll tell you one of them that I did. And this really, I remember this incredibly clearly. Now, the age is a little off. I want to say that I was about 6 when it first happened. And my younger brother is just 2 years under. He's 1 year and 10 months younger than me. He's the baby, Craig. And my parents were going on their anniversary dinner. Now, me being as young as I was, I didn't really understand what that meant. It's the anniversary dinner. Okay, cool. So anniversary dinner came up the day of, and I remember getting excited about it because I was also so little that I figured they'd take me with them, because they'd already said they were going to take Craig. Jason's staying home. He's just under 4 years older than me. He's about 3 years and I want to say 9 months, roughly, older than me. And Jason was going to watch us, which also we had the nursing assistants at the house at the time too. So we had there was an adult on site, but it wasn't their job to watch us, but there was an adult there. And Jason was going to watch us. Well, Jason was going to be home. Hey, Athena, you want to go ahead and not be a guest in the show? Thank you, baby. My dog, in case you're listening and not seeing what's going on. Anyway, so night of it came along, and so I'm sitting there in the living room. I'm dressed. I'm ready to go. I got dressed. Yeah, dressed to go out to dinner because it's going to be a sit down, not a pickup dinner, because it's a big family. So we'd go pick food up or whatever, but we did a lot of home cook too. So going out to dinner was a big deal. It wasn't a common occurrence, especially going to a nice restaurant. And that was the anniversary restaurant, right? And going to a nice one in the local town next door in the town over. And I loved going to that town. It's the manatees, rivers, and all this fun stuff. So I had a lot of love for that place. So I had a lot of love for that place. So day of comes. Parents are ready. They're about to walk out the door. Mom's got a purse. Dad's ready, looking nice. His hair slicked back. You smell the cologne. Smell the perfume on my mom. She looked pretty. She's wearing a dress. Go out. And like, okay, Craig, let's go. He's the baby. If I were 6 at the time, which again, it might have been 7, maybe 6, whatever, that would make Craig 4 or 5. He's the baby. We also picked on each other a lot. So they didn't want Craig to stay home. Not to be picked on, and it's just easier to take him with and not to have my mom or dad worry that the little guy's at the house, right? So next thing I know, I got my things, I'm ready to go. I'm like, I'm standing there by the door, and they're like, what are you doing? I said, I'm going to dinner with you guys. Like, no, honey. Yeah, this is an anniversary dinner. It's just for Dad and I. It's my mom telling me. It's just for your father and I. And I'm like, well, Craig's going. As I said, well, Craig's going. And they said, no, it's we got to take him. He's just too little to stay home. And I thought to myself, well, that's not okay. I mean, I'm not much bigger than him. I'm not even a full 2 years older than him. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe next year. I mean, it hurt. It did. It's done. But I'm like, next year I'll get to go. Craig won't get to go. I'll get to go. Because there were patterns where we do stuff like that. It's just like little things. Today you go to the store, your parent or whatever. And then tomorrow the other one gets to go. Stuff like that. So that's what I made up in my mind. Is like, what, next year is okay. And then I also thought, well, you know what? Maybe, next year's better, but I'm not good enough, right? I'm not good enough to go. But that's okay. Next year they'll prove that I am, right? Like, it's a little kid thinking, right? And then next thing I know, I'm like, it's a year later, they told us they're going to dinner again. And man, I get all ready. I'm ready to go. I didn't really talk about it much either. Just, whatever. I just expected that I was next. Next year came along. They're dressed ready again. Similar scenario. We're in the living room again as well. They're at the front door. I'm ready. Put my shoes on. I go walking towards them. And they go, what are you doing? I'm going to dinner with you guys. And they said, no, this is for mom and dad. This is our night. We need to have this. No kids. And I said, well, last year Craig got to go. Why can't I go this time? And they said, sweetheart, this is for us. This is our anniversary. We need this time together. This is for us to be together, and it's just without kids. And I told myself, man, I don't matter. I don't matter at all. That's what I told myself. So we tell ourselves stuff like that, and then we spend time collecting along the way, where you have another event occur, and then you tell yourself something again. I don't matter. So that's one of my baseline narratives. I come from, I don't matter. So I told myself that over and over again. And then I spent my life collecting moments whenever I validate that I don't matter. That's just one example. But what about the other ones? Now, obviously, we matter when we make ourselves matter. But you don't matter because you tell other people you're supposed to, or that they're supposed to accept you. It's not the way this works. No one owes you that. It's just in who you be, which makes things so much better because you're true to yourself when you be the person that's true. Otherwise, you matter on a contingency. I matter on a contingency that I uphold this idea about me. We have a lot of concessions and things, but we tell ourselves this stuff all the time. Very popular place where parents disconnect from their children. Sex. When children get to the point where they're starting to recognize sex, that's where a lot of parents back off. We came up with a story that's generational now, multiple generations along the way, the birds and the bees, right? We came up with this creative way to try to address it. Doesn't mean that it works, but it is one that they tried to use to address it. So it is better than nothing, that's for sure. But a lot of parents step away from that because they're uncomfortable talking about sex with children and their children. Let's make sure that's very freaking clear. Because it gets weird. Who's told them how to do it? So what do is we create a void, and then we allow children to experience things as they get into their adolescence where they're trying to figure out how this whole thing works, but this is one of their steps into doing it on their own. Then you come up with all kinds of lacking success, and you have the hierarchy values where a lot of people make fun of each other about their sexuality. They make fun of each other about their lack of experience and all these other things as you're growing through the process. And how much do you make meaning about the way that sex is for you whenever that's the environment that you're in? Now, if you're taught how to mature properly, then you are less likely to be susceptible to all of the challenges that come up with not being experienced enough. And what I mean is not like you mature through the act as somebody else guiding you. Understand the principles of maturity and understand where failure is actually supposed to be, and don't make it something they need to hide away from and shame. Now, again, I'm not telling you to get into any explicit things. This is an example of a timeline where children are commonly abandoned. If you want this to be different, you got to do different. Now, again, examples along the way here. What we do is we let them come up with their own understandings of things. And then they get into the, well, if I am into this, then that, and they need to create these taboo things. Well, what about, that's sexuality, right? And it's maturity. And there's a lot of different ways to mature yourself in sexuality. And I'm not saying they need mentors along the way where you've got some sort of weird pedophilia, because I am 100% against that shit. So I am all about supporting people in a way that they can understand how to navigate things and become more and more mature. And part of maturity is to understand when you fail, it's not over. Whenever you do not obtain a goal, does not mean that you can't do it. It just means you can't do it right now. You cannot use the same model of thinking that got you into a problem to get you out of a problem. You have to adapt. Einstein spoke about that, if it were truly one of his quotes, but he's been accredited for that quote. So he also said that if you gauge a degree of intelligence by the ability to climb a tree, a fish would forever believe it's stupid. Now, we have genetic values that actually give us specific advantages. In certain ways of thinking, you may have more of an advantage because of the way that your brain is developed in your genetics. But that is not some sort of significant supersede all other humanity types. Those are very rare in our species. We don't have a lot of those. What we have is the way that you see the world and the way that you navigate through challenges and the outcomes that you're able to create more successful models for future foundation. And then you can develop into more and more of that success model of thinking. The way that I see it is this: success is done through specific models that are replicatable. If you have a thinking model that works into the reality of life, then that can create a pathway for opportunities for success. No success is done without a thinking model. All success is done through thinking models. It's just a matter of how did you get to that point, chaos versus luck, right? Well, for me, it's neither of those ever really. Opportunity is around us all the time. Sometimes it is dumped into your doorway where you have nothing but, no matter what, that opportunity is going to be very apparent to you. But it does not mean you have the skills necessary to fully be able to actually access it. You may be able to get it in the house. You may be able to get it in your bank account, right? If it's a financial opportunity, you may be able to get there, but you don't know how to create it consistently you got a chance opportunity. Opportunities are always around us. We call it chance opportunities whenever it is available to you, and also uncommon to you. The more you work on yourself, especially through the maturity project, the 8 areas of maturity, the more you start seeing opportunities that consistently are around you at all times, because you have thinking models that you can graph from, that you can use to be able to access the opportunities that are in front of you. First, you have to be able to see it so that it's not coming through the doorway, because that doesn't happen so often where it comes through the doorway. It does come, it does happen. It's just not as frequent because you don't know how to identify it. You want to be able to notice when it's in your county. You want to be able to notice when it's in your state. The more you work on yourself, those opportunities become more and more obvious, even though they're further and further away from you, because you're capable of seeing other opportunities. Why do some people start businesses and then they are incredibly successful? And then they can start another one, the same thing, incredibly successful again. And then another one. And then they work their way through that. And it looks like they're just good at business and they have some sort of genetic ability. Reality is that's not the case. They had to develop to become better for that particular industry and that particular business model. And that's done through the way they think and the way that they had made determinations about the way that life happens to us. Whenever something happens, it's what they told themselves. Now, you can use a negative motivator to turn into something positive. I did, and I do. I don't matter. What is it? The effect of not mattering on the world for me is this, is the maturity project. It is everybody that I've helped in my life up till this point and who I will help beyond that. So negative values don't necessarily mean they have negative outcomes. You can use those for motivators. So when the next time you come up with something and you tell yourself, well, I'm not good at this, guess what? There's your job. There's your homework. Do you want the I'm not good at this to be the thing that haunts you as a skeleton in your closet for something that you don't want to address? Because I'll tell you right now, everything in your life you don't want to address will recreate and represent itself. You will not get away from it. It will happen again, and it shows up in a different costume. It's like Halloween. It's a different costume every year, and it's the same kid. Different costume. Getting older, getting more advanced. When they're little, cute, show up at the door. They want their candy, trick or treat. When they're little, it just means give me candy. When you get older and you're like, I've been saying trick or treat my whole life. I didn't realize that trick meant if you don't give me a treat, I'm going to do a trick on you. And then you get TP'd or you get your house egged or something when the age of mischief becomes more prevalent to a child. It's the same thing showing up at your door every year. It's just if you don't deal with it, it gets more aggressive. It gets harder to deal with because you're not developing the skills necessary to take on the challenge, and you're avoiding it. 3 models of conflict, how to deal with conflict is 3 different models: avoidance, survival, and thriving. If you're not familiar with that, I have an entire video dedicated to that. That is just specific, real quick little overview. If you avoid it, it will come back. You've learned nothing other than how to outmaneuver to avoid it. And it will always come back. The thing is that you're also not likely to be able to identify what it is when it shows back up. The lesson is not leaving you, and it won't leave you. It's going to continuously get you. It's just in a different costume. It's going to pull another trick on you because you're not giving it the treat of growth. So it's going to give you, and it's going to come after you again and again and again and again. It's the Michael Myers model for dealing with it. You're not going to get rid of it until you address it. Survival is, I can make it through this. I can make it through this. It evolves too, but you learn how to make it through it. You survive the issue. But it will come back because you're not taking on, and you're very unlikely to figure out how to complete the lesson. You're only trying to survive the lesson. Thriving is the 3rd model. So survival is the 2nd model. 3rd model is thriving. It requires that you survive the issue and you take on the lesson, but you don't focus on what it is that you're currently upset by. Whatever the challenge is that's obvious in front of you, that's not where you put your focus. Survival is the focus on that. Then you expand beyond that in a mature process to look at how do you thrive through it, and what you do first in order to understand how to thrive through those challenges is you think about how you got yourself there. by not the actions, although that's part of it, sure. It's the traits and the skill sets that you have in your character that got you there. And when you can focus on those things, you have power beyond your wildest ideas. Because now you can look back and go, well, whenever I accept something from somebody else and I allow and I say, you know what, I really just want to be in this relationship and I like this person, I want to date this person. And they say, you know, I don't really like when somebody does this, and you do that, but they don't know it yet, then you have a concession, right? You concede that activity, that behavior, that thing in order to appease the opportunity for being with that person. What happens when it means something to you? It's just not as obvious right now. It means something to you because you're more interested in the connection that's in front of you and getting something else satisfied, whether that is offsetting loneliness or you got a specific part of your body you want touched, right? You've got some way that something else about validation is there, and that thing that they don't like, you were more than willing to make a concession there because it doesn't seem like it's that important. And the things that are more important are very obvious to you, which is the reasons why you want to date this person. And then you make the concession and you get the fulfillment of that moment where you're like, wow, yeah, finally, you know, this guy or girl touched me where I wanted them to, and it really felt good. You know, or somebody came home to me. Somebody actually held me last night. Somebody watched TV with me. Somebody went in the pool with me. I got somebody to go places and do things with. There's somebody that else is doing something in life. And you know what? It's nice to have somebody else that's doing something in life while you're doing stuff in life. And you have all this stuff going on, but that thing that you made the concession over is still there. It's still somewhere in the background. And then as the other things that you satiated by being in that relationship start to drop down, to where they're more and more satisfied on a regular basis, and you're now in the place of it's not a problem anymore, and I feel pretty good, I don't even notice it anymore. All those things that occur whenever you're in the daily activities of your relationship and you're later on in it, and you're just really kind of comfortable, then that thing that you gave up, it's waiting. It was there for a reason in the first place. Whatever it was that you did not want to give up, it did not leave you. You just made a concession, you weren't going to do it again. And then it shows up. And everything that you had made as far as promises and everything else can be hinging on that one thing. Because the other person told you the truth. They don't like it when somebody does that thing, whatever it is. And then it finally comes out. You know, it can't be held back anymore. You do it. Partner finds out about it. And then they decide they're going to end the relationship. Well, what do you tell yourself there? How much of a story did you make up there to make things make sense so that you didn't sit there and tell yourself that you're a horrible person for the concessions that you made, and that you work on that fact that you actually were too cowardly to address the fact that is something that you actually do. But it didn't occur to be a coward. It looked like something you could sacrifice easily on the altar of that relationship, an opportunity for you. You might even start off with the hope that, you know what, once we're now emotionally connected, you know, this person will just allow me to do this thing. Eventually it'll come back around. I'm allowed to do it because of that concession. That's just in the relationship world. We do this all over the place. And a lot of times these things are just the things with ourselves. So all this stuff is going on. Well, guess what? Here's the good stuff. So the world can be all that chaos and all those things. The good stuff is this. We talked about the state of the world, right? We just had somebody try to take out a candidate that is likely going to become president, just simply because he's just his popularity and all this. And somebody tried to take him out. You know what really pisses me off about that? A lot of the people that scream my democracy has done everything they can to try to prevent somebody from taking the democratic method or the democratic model in order to become the person that the people elect. And they're trying to interfere with it along the way. Yeah, sure, that pisses me off because it's such it's such a hypocrite statement. So, but there's more that bothers me about it. Things that bother me about it is, what about the kid that thought that it was the right thing to do? That was willing to put himself in a position that he probably did rationalize that he's going to be killed. He was going to be taken out for doing that. And perhaps maybe it was infamy that he was after. Maybe he thought he was doing the right thing. Could you imagine being the parent realizing that that person, that your child went to such extreme measures, and to feel that you may have failed as a parent? What pisses me off is that people are so immature, so underdeveloped, because they're caught up with all these other things in life, that they're that susceptible to acts of violence. That our parents are so caught up with trying to pay their bills and trying to keep up with the Joneses, because marketing and advertisement sure as fuck want you to have that brand new Mercedes in the driveway, or that you've got all the nice stainless steel appliances and everything else, and that you've got two incomes coming into the house, and you know what, a little bit of debt, we'll pay it off as we get better and we make more money. And before you know it, the family isn't even a family anymore. It's this custodial value where it's just like, hey, I provide you a home to live in. Family has that emotional bond. Wealthy people deal with this too. People that have more money than they do sense, and they send their kid off to boarding school and all the rest of these things because they're so caught up with their businesses or whatever they do to make money or whatever they do to validate themselves, and they don't take care of their children directly. They have somebody else do it. Well, sure, you can have people that help them develop, but you really need to be a part of that process because it's your child. We have all these things going on, and we have parents that can't be attentive to their kids because they're caught up in everything else in their life. Well, guess what happens whenever you're developing only so many places when it comes to maturity? The thing is that you become susceptible to the other places. And if you're in one place as an expert, 7 other places of your maturity are now areas that you're susceptible to being manipulated in. And you can be incredibly intelligent, but yet so susceptible to something else. You could be a powerful politician, but you're so sexually immature. Your sexuality is such a level of opportunity for somebody who wants to control you, somebody that wants to get an opportunity through you, whether it's by you or for somebody else because they've got you going in to do it, or they got somebody coming into you, whichever way you want to look at the scenario, where you're the politician and you're like, you know what? I'm so good at negotiating. I'm so good at all these things. And the next thing you know, the next person that you're out on a date with, or you're married and you're out with, the campaign, and then somebody catches your eye because they do get your attention. It happens, but you don't have the fortitude and the development in yourself, the maturity in yourself, to not pursue that relationship or that opportunity. And then next thing you know, you're sexually vulnerable because you didn't develop in that place. And now they can take advantage of you. And then so can whoever it is that actually had the intent to get that person involved in the first place, if it is something more, insidious that other people are involved because it's a takedown thing. It happens, by the way. It absolutely happens. There's plenty of cons out there to do that. Not just con artists. Those are cons. There's a model of cons that are convincing people of something only to get them into the position of being taken advantage of, or a position of leverage. Imagine that you are so well developed in every area of maturity that you can recognize these things and stop it before you become susceptible to it, before it becomes the thing that actually takes you to a different place where you can't think beyond whatever its limitations are. The good news is that it is possible to make changes. It will not happen overnight. That's why I'm a big advocate, 1% on a daily basis. You write down all 8 areas of maturity and you self-qualify where you are in each one of those places. Then you add 1% on a daily basis in a given area that you want to get better in. And before you know it, when you build a habit of this, it will change your life. You will be less and less recognizable to the people that knew you several years ago because you're taking so much on. You're putting so much effort into an organized direction of development. It's more organized this way because, hey, at least you can address something. At least you can sit there and not just let frustration burn you alive. It hurts my heart to think about all the crazy shit going on in this world. It wasn't long ago that a young man self-immolated because of an idea that somebody else gave him. And he wanted to be the next monk that set himself ablaze to prove a point. Yeah, he was led into conviction, but it really was somebody else's conviction. But he was that motivated. And that hurts. That does. I don't care what side of the political aisle you're on. That kind of shit sucks. It sucks that somebody was taken advantage of to that level, that that's their recourse. It sucks that somebody tried to do what they just tried to do on Saturday with President Trump. That sucks. That somebody got to that point, they thought that was how this needs to go. That's immaturity. To me, if you want to take that on, you have to start addressing the areas in your own life. Do not convict other people to things you're unwilling to work on yourself. That just creates a whole problem in itself. You can't guide for what you won't do yourself. You can theoretically talk about it till you're blue in the face, but do me a favor and shut up. If that's the only thing you're doing, you can burn opportunities because you can get somebody prematurely excited about something but have no structure to fulfill on it. And all you've done is you've given them one more time, they're going to try something and they didn't make any progress, or they made minimal or mixed results. And they don't know what the hell to do next other than, and you can't guide them here. All you can do is get them fired up again to try it a different way that you hypothetically think of as or the literary version of theoretically believe that it's going to work, but you're not willing to do it yourself. What it is abusing their attempts. You're wearing them down and creating a fatigue model for them. I tried that before. Now, sure, people can figure it out, but you've increased the chances of them figuring it out. You make it more of a chance model than an actual guide model. Chance models are typically through theoretic ideas. It's all hypothesized. There's really no actual outlet. There's no direct structure to fulfill on that. Sure, I've done it in my life too, and I realize the consequences of it because I've learned the lessons through that. Same reason why I don't give advice. I'll give insights. I won't give advice. So if you really want something different, you got to do different. Nothing changes that doesn't change. If we want to see change, I'm not going to sit around and bitch about it. I'm going to do something about it. Now, I put my life on the lines for this because of every time I make a career move and I get back and I'm ahead and I'm doing really well, my purpose calls me out. And then I get dissatisfied. And then I get frustrated. And it's just one more time that I had to reinvent myself to survive again. Well, I'm not going to talk the talk, and that's it. I got some walking to do, and I will do it as I am doing it. The only person in your way is you. If you want to create a conviction level necessary to start making change, which I do advise, I do say that that's a great direction to go in. Again, I don't like to give advice, but I will definitely tell you that's a powerful way to go. Is from my own experiences. Put something on the line to make it mean something, because changing yourself for what you become familiar with gets really hard. But if you want to do it, you got to do it, because nothing changes that doesn't change. So yeah, it ain't easy, but you can take every one of those moments of frustration, the challenges that you've dealt with. When you finally set that conviction, then you can say never again. Never again is not that I'm going to avoid it or that I'm only going to survive it. I'm going to learn what gets me into that situation, and I'm going to learn exactly how to mature my way out of it. Shit's going to happen. Still going to happen. You can't make this into the secret where just will it into existence and, good things will happen. Things are going to happen. It's a roller coaster. We live through it. The more attached you are to a specific outcome, the harder it gets. But if you're able to actually attach yourself to an outcome that says, you know what, I'm going to ride through the goods and the bads, the hards and the easies. I'm going to ride through it all, and I'm still going to end up in that same place. Have that level of conviction because you have stacked so much into your own little Pandora's box. You got the fucking box. It's open. You've gone through it. Chaos has blown by you. It's knocked your hat off. Chaos has got you. It's put you through all the lessons necessary to get out of your own damn way. And then every one of those events that you've overcome, you take them and you put them back into Pandora's box. But now it's not that anymore. It's not Pandora's box of chaos. It is now your box of success. And you can look into it every single time you feel like things have gotten too hard to deal with. And you say, look at everything I've done until this point. My faith is in that box. I can overcome this because I've taken on all of those challenges prior. And I put every single opportunity to succeed. And every time that I have succeeded, I didn't leave them in the past to forget about them. I moved them into that box to qualify it. I did that. I overcame it. This will be helpful. If you want something, how about this? How about you go ahead and you get a notebook and you start journaling your successes. Every time you said, I'm not going to go through this again because I'm going to grow through it. I'm not going to go through. I'm going to grow through. Because go through a survival, grow through a thrive. Listen to the words you use to yourself, with yourself. I'm going to grow through this. That goes into that fucking box. That goes into your success box. It's empty. Pandora's released it all. It's all in your world. Put that shit in your box of success. And then you can look back at it and say, I did it. I did it. Look at every single time I have succeeded at something. Write that down in your little journal of Pandora's spent box and now it's all success. I don't care what you fucking title it. Title it something that's romantic enough to get you involved or playful. Remember what that thing is and write it down. Every time you say, you know what, moving forward, if I'm going to be involved in a relationship and I'm always going to tell the truth, every single time you stood for truth, write it down and put it in that fucking box because that's a victory. Every time you go to the gym and you tell yourself, I'm going to lose X amount of weight or I'm going to get this much stronger, and you get there, put it in the box. Write it down. It's success. Put it in the box. Because there's going to be a day whenever the thing you're taking on is so big and so incredibly challenging for your opportunities to succeed. You're going to look at that box and get inspiration because you did it. I look at it this way. Every time a big challenge comes along, I created that challenge because who I am on the other side of that is significant. Is absolutely significant when I get on the other side of it. There's something big there. So every time I see it, God damn it, I get so excited. Yeah, I know it's going to rain down hell on me most likely. It's going to be so hard to overcome that thing. But I got a box of inspiration that tells me it's just one more challenge. Look at all the challenges you've already gone through. You can do this. Go do it. Not going to die from it. That's you on the other side of it. How many times, if you need to just sit down for a second and say, this is one of the hardest moments in my life, go through that list of things that you have overcome in your life and say, you know what? Every one of these that were really hard, I overcame them. Look at the accumulation of all of that. Does it amount to that thing that you're facing right now? If it were to be in its total accumulation? You've faced it how many times? You got a success model right there in that fucking box, man. You got your success right there. Look at it and say, I could do this. This sucks. It's going to be hard. I'm probably going to lose some things along the way, but I've gotten better every single time. And this is a big one, which means this is a big change for me. I'm about to become something major. And you face it. Do this to yourself, and I swear to God, you're going to be so grateful for it. You turn Pandora's box of chaos into your success box. You got the box. It's already there. Fill it with the things that are going to move you the right direction. Or you can sit there and keep the woe is me and go, the world's going to shit. And you know what? Every single time you sit there and go, the world's going to shit, and you do nothing, you're part of the problem at that point. You're creating the issues because you're not doing anything about it. That moment of misery you're in your own mind is contribution to the chaos. Because when you go out and interact with other people, are you supportive or interfering with what they got going on in life? Now, yes, there's times whenever interfering is good because some people are so caught up in the chaos, they can't understand it and they're lost. They need an intervention. That's interfering. Intervention's interfering. But when you do it in a controlled method to help them out, to help their outcome, yeah, that's good interference. That's interventions. That is good. But if you don't have that plan and you just interfere with people because you don't know what the fuck's going on in your own life, guess what? You are an agent for chaos too. You just don't realize it because you're so disorganized. I'm worried about my finances. I can't care about that relationship right now. Or my relationship's going to fucking shit, but I can't worry about my finances right now. My chaos is in relationship. Until that becomes chaos too. And then you got finance and relationships chaos. Then what? I'm depressed. What comes with depression? Typically, it's not going to the gym. Typically, it's not doing things that are active. Most of the time, what it is I'm going to hide in my cave. I'm going to get in my room and I'm going to stay under the covers and I'm going to do nothing. Well, yeah, sometimes you got to lick your wounds. But guess what? Sometimes when you lick your wounds too much, you can't heal it either. You got to do something about it. And if you want that change, you got to do something for the change. Nothing changes that doesn't change. So put it in Pandora's box of success. Make that thing your treasure chest of what it takes to be successful. Because I can promise you right now, I don't care how far away you think you are from Elon Musk. If you listen to his story, he's got a treasure chest full of successes because he just doesn't stop. He's had his challenges. He's got new ones. He's got the United States government against him at times. And if you don't think that's true, listen to what he's telling you. He's got other countries' governments going against him because he won't censor people. You think what you're going through is hard? Yeah, it is. It truly is. He's got a really big fucking game because he's reached something in life that most people will ever get to. He has reached in his lifetime the Alexander the Great level of success. He is a multi-billionaire, one of the richest people, richest people on the planet. I am not a 100% follower of him. I admire him. I look at what he's done and I look at my own life and say, you know what, Chad? You can do better too. You can keep going. We all have this. It's right here in front of us. Most of us just don't want to study those because we make them out to be something we're not. The thing is, we all have those layers and opportunities for greatness. But the thing is, we're doing little to nothing about it. Excuse me. We just sit around going, you know what? I just need to survive this credit card issue. I need to survive this debt. I need to survive this challenge in the relationship. Or I need to avoid it. When you spend your time understanding how to thrive through different challenges, you will make something great. But you got to do it. You got to put the effort in. So the great thing is you can be the one that turns this all around. Even if it's not turning everything around for the world, your world is you. It's who you are. And if you feel like you're a victim in your world, somebody else is navigating that thing and it's not your world. Somebody else has hijacked it. Somebody else has your world. You're waiting for somebody else to fix your world. Well, guess what? No one fixes your world. Some people provide opportunity for you to experience their world because they're generous enough for you to be able to join it. But it's not your world. Without that, it's gone. If you want that, then have it. But you'll have to understand that you are not the captain of your destiny. Someone else is. If you're tired of the way things are going right now in the society and through actually the world as it is, you have to do something different. If you want to take on the entire thing, great. But I will tell you this. If you're unwilling to face the little things right now that are really hard for you, you are not ready to face what the world needs. Because everybody else, they can't model the success that you're telling them they can have if you won't go through it. That's why we like to listen to people that have had the real living lessons. And then we say, you know what? I like this. I can follow this person. They speak powerfully. They know what they're doing. They've been through it. It's why we like guides that know what the fuck they're doing. So if you want to address the whole world, you really better address yours. You need to address those things. If you want to know how our society has gotten to the point that we have right now, where we've got some 20-year-old kid climbing on top of a roof to take a shot at a candidate, a political candidate, a previous president of the country. If you want to understand that, then just think contribution is our own lack of action. Because we didn't do things to actually make the world that much better because we've organized our own lives in a way that makes it less stressful, or at least, yeah, actually you can say that, less stressful, because life is stressful when you're disorganized. It's a stress that if you're organized, you won't have. You can still have stress for other things, as the demand is called, based off of the environment and the influence in that. Sure, you can have that. But what's on the other side of it is when you don't have the challenge of having things organized, you don't have that stress. You can have that reality, but you have to get organized. You can spend all kinds of time to become, the world leader of something, the world leader thinker, whatever. But if you don't deal with the satisfaction and fulfillment of life, it's just one more thing that eventually you'll turn on yourself. How that happens is, by the way, I know several people that are in Mensa. If you're not familiar with Mensa, it's basically the most intelligent people on the planet have an organization where they are members and they get a validation, exclusivity process, the whole thing that gives them a place to share and exchange their ideas because they have other hyper intelligent people there. And they're still fucking miserable. Most of them are miserable. And where they make it worse for themselves is they're so incredibly intelligent that they use that against themselves when they realize they're not good in some area of their life. If you go through the 8 areas of maturity, whenever certain areas are actually in the highest demand, if it's loneliness, then it could be from sexuality and emotion and community, as far as the 3 different areas of the primary superficial areas of companionship come from community, emotion, and sexuality. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, believe me, you want to subscribe to my channel because this will get more clarity so you can have these things for yourself. If you really want to make something powerful, send me an email at yourmaturityproject@gmail.com. It's YOUR maturityproject@gmail.com. I'll send you over a document, just the basics, the foundation, get you started, something to work with. Anyway, those people work against themselves because they take that area of high level of intelligence and they make themselves wrong for not being able to be as good in other areas. Subconsciously, we do this shit to ourselves all the time. You're really developed in one and you make yourself wrong for not being up to par in another area. It's the way that we work. If you don't want that reality anymore, let's do something about it. But first, we got to get you organized. You need to know, first off, where's your radar? What the hell should be even showing up on your radar? There's 8 areas of maturity. They will all show up on your radar, especially when you know they exist. Because the first thing is awareness. And then from there, you can qualify to do something about it. But if you don't have the awareness, you can't qualify it. It's the same thing. If you want to find love, you better define it. Because you're not going to find it if you can't define it. Now, you might have a lottery winning opportunity, but guess what? When that person's not in your life, you now don't have access to love again until somebody else shows up for the same and with very similar traits. But if you can define it, you are now captaining. You are a captain of, I made up a word there. You are a captain of that destiny because you can do something. You can manipulate the world around you enough that you can start finding things in a virtuous way. You have the ability to take actions whenever certain decisions come up that you can do something and make it better. You can make it powerful. You have all of that access at that point, but you need to be aware first. Because being aware creates opportunity because now you can have clarity and then you can do something with it. So if you want to make progress like that, you need to get organized. And the more you develop yourself, the more it affects the people around you. And eventually that turns the world because it catches on. An army of one is not a very dangerous army, but an army that has the same views or very similar views and work together, that army can function like they're one. It's your call. I hope, and I am taking actions. I have the faith that at some point in time you'll join me in this venture. The Maturity Project is not about me being the top guy. The Maturity Project is an organization of top people. It's an organization of people that want to make a difference, and they bring their strengths into it, and they learn from others that have that strength or other strengths, and they balance themselves out so they can do something different in life. If you want different, you got to do different, because nothing changes that doesn't change. If you tried everything else, have you tried working on your maturity? You can take all the courses you want. If you're looking to be satisfied in life, define what satisfaction is. If you have a problem figuring that out, why don't you use the 8 areas of maturity and come up with your own concept, something that you now own, not something that you're given because somebody told you you should do it a certain way. If you think the influence stopped when your parents are telling you you need to be a doctor or go off to college to become something, and that's where it all stops, and you don't get those influences on you anymore in society, you're wrong, and you're naively wrong, because you get it every time you turn on the TV, when you interact with people. Everybody has their own thing. But I'll tell you right now, the people that resonate the most with me are people that are their own person. The greatest compliment I've ever received in my life was from my friend, Dr. Frank Sessa. And one day he told me, he goes, Chad, you truly are your own man. And at the time, I just thought, like, hey, isn't this the way everybody is? And then it hit me. No, it's not how everyone is. The majority of people want to fit in. You can either be a crab in a bucket and keep pulling other people down because you're so familiar with your own defeats that you want to support somebody else's defeat. Then you can be a crab in the bucket. But I'll tell you right now, you won't be in my bucket. The ones that get into my bucket are the ones that want to work with each other to come up with a better outcome. If you're tired of the bullshit rat race, or the crab race, if you will, of being stuck in a bucket with other crabs that keep pulling you down, your support system will have those, I guarantee you. Because misery loves company. And it doesn't matter how you want to intellectualize that. You look at the behaviors, not what they say, but what they do. And sometimes that love gets heavy and it'll take you out. Because I don't want you to be successful because you'll leave me. If you find success, you won't need me anymore. It's not a conscious thing for most people, because consciously, if you're out to hurt somebody else so that they don't leave you, that's a version of evil. Subconsciously, it's common. Can't have you leave me because I have never been able to develop myself in that place. I don't want to be alone. I don't want to be lonely. A lot of reasons why people do what they do. But I'll tell you right now, you can have different. You just have to do something different. If you tried everything else, you haven't tried this yet, I promise you, because I came up with it. So I didn't really necessarily come up with it fully. It's been here this entire time. I put it into a teachable model, something that you can do something with. I want everybody to have this, but I can't make anybody take it. It's like a rope. You can give somebody enough rope, they can climb up it, or they can dangle from it. You can't want it for them more than they want it for themselves. But if anything I'm saying is resonating for you and that you actually can find opportunity, some hope in it, well, come join, because I'll make sure that hope converts to faith. It'll happen. Stick with it. Make your own. Take the shell of Pandora's box, the box itself, the empty thing that you're afraid of, and let's start dropping some successes in there. Let's start turning that thing into your box of success so that when you get to that big thing that you don't think you can handle, you look in that box and you tell yourself, I didn't think I could handle some of those things too. And they were tough, and I overcame it. Build that model that will continue to make you climb Mount Everest. Build it. It's yours. You have to do it. It's not me. I'm only giving insights through my own life experiences. Join me in this, okay? We can change this whole thing, everything. If you feel that your heart's calling to just make things better, make things more desirable, let's get to work on you, because you can be a powerful agent for change, or you can be a powerful agent for chaos. You got to pick it. I choose that change for the better, the desirable outcome is my path in life. And I'm going to go through every hardship to get there. All right. That's it for today. Man, I seem to get a little emotional on each one of these because fuck it. You know, I'm up to something, and I'm up to a big goddamn game. So I'm up to making the world a better place, because we all can develop it. We got more than enough education out there. We got all the schooling systems. You can read books, you can do all kinds of things, but nobody's talking about this. Nobody's talking about the experience of being fully fulfilled in life, because they develop in these areas and they become, oh, well, this is what life's about. So I'm going to be an author. Okay. What about the other areas that you have blinded yourself to because you became so good at being an author that everything else got neglected, or other areas that actually are important you got neglected? You don't know that there's a chance to do something with it. There's opportunity all around us. You just got to learn to see it. That's what the Maturity Project's about, and that's what I dedicate my life to. Join me in that. Okay. Chad Everett Broshears. I'm the host of the Maturity Project, or search Chad Everett Broshears to some. If you know, you know. We'll explore that conversation more at another time. But for now, share this video with the person in your life, or the people in your life you want to make a different conversation with. You really want to break the ice for change. Share it with them. Talk about this stuff together. You are where you are in the process, man. Get people involved. Get people engaged, so that you can start making the changes you want. You're not going to do it alone. But sometimes you got to plan it by yourself. But then you got to enroll other people to support you in the process. Because there's going to be plenty of crabs out there waiting, but you need to find the ants. Difference, by the way, because apparently it's sometimes people don't know the analogy, or they haven't watched the videos where I talked about it. Crabs in a bucket pull each other out every time they try to climb out, because that's the way that they are by nature. They're very individualized. They have their own independence, but they also will. So if you leave crabs in a bucket overnight, you'll come back and nearly every one of them will still be in the bucket. They're not going to get out. Now, ants in a bucket, on the other hand, again, no top on either one of them, just a 5-gallon bucket. One of them's got, an eighth of the thing full of ants, and the other's got, nearly to the top full of crabs. In the morning, there'll be very few crabs that have made it out. But in the morning for the ants, they're all gone. Which one do you want to be? I contribute to your success, but I can't do it for you. So that's why I say, join me in this process. We have 8 areas to work on, and there's a whole lot of stuff to do. What the hell else are you going to do with life anyway? 1% on a daily basis, your life will be unrecognizable in a year. And in 5 years, you won't even believe who the hell you used to be. It's a journey, and it's a step at a time. Join me on a daily basis with this. Subscribe to the channel. I'll make some playlists too that'll help with that. Wake up every morning, if that's how it's going to work for you. Write down your daily goals. Listen to some of this. Get yourself active on a regular basis, polarizing your mind. Set it on the right track on a daily basis, and you will get something different out of it. I promise you. Promise you. Just do it. Your life is your life, or you'll live it for somebody else. So I live my life for everybody else, but it's my life, and that's the way I want it. But I'm not doing it because other people want me to. I'm doing it because I want to. It's a big difference. I'm not being manipulated by others to do what they want me to do. And I made that clear by the choices I've made in life. So you can have that kind of power in your life too. All right. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Let's get these subscriptions up so that I can get to a place where I can actually do more recruiting. I am actively looking for people that are more mature in each one of the areas that I am, and start to do interviews with them and potentially collaborate to create material that will help everyone along the way, because we all need some mentors and we all need guidance. I do too. But that's also part of the reason why I created this. I love to learn. Love it. Join me in that too. Okay? So share your thoughts on this in the comments. Share the video with people in your life. Let me see some comments too. By the way, I want to see more about what you guys are going through, what you're hearing, and really what this is doing for you and how this helps. Send me an email if you'd like to actually get some of the documents that I've created that'll help with some foundational stuff to get you started on the right place. Watch videos when you first wake up. Get the day started in the way that you want it. Start powerfully and end powerfully. Wake up in the morning, tell yourself what you're going to accomplish. Get some things written out. Watch some videos like this so you can get yourself in the right mindset. And at the end of the day, go back to what you wrote out in the beginning of the day and start a checkoff list. What were you able to do? What were you not able to do? Was it a lack of time? What was it that actually prevented you from getting there? Lack of experience, lack of knowledge, whatever it might be, and do something with that. And you'll move yourself along. Every single day, you'll move along and you'll get new insights. Make it a daily practice, like brushing your teeth. I do it twice a day minimum. First thing in the morning and before I go to bed, minimum, every day. Do the same thing. Join me in that. All right, until next time. Damn, forgot my closers there for a second. Well, society is on its own pathway, right? The world needs us. If we want change, we got to do something for change. But please don't forget along the way, and why this is so important that we address each area of maturity, is because the path to hell is paved with good intentions. And right now, our society is developing a super highway there. If you don't want that, we need to do something about it. So join me in that. All right, till next time. Let's get to it. We got some stuff to do. All right. Love you guys. Let's go.